in marriage are inevitable. Disagreements will arise, different opinions and perspectives, but they should not necessarily lead to a fight. What are some of the causes on conflict in our marriages, and how best can we solve them? Stay tuned as Dr. Njeri Gashohi takes us through today's lesson.
Yes, welcome viewers and also students today for the marriage classroom. We are learning, and I believe that we are better off from where we started, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, this is a class where I told you we will never graduate because no one has ever graduated from marriage. So it is continuous learning, and we've never learned enough. Okay? So today we continue to learn. We are learning about conflicts in marriage. Last time when we were looking at communication in marriage, effective communication, you realize that once we solve one of the ways that causes conflict, then we seem to be moving towards bettering or making a marriage better, more cherishable, and what did we say? Thriving, okay? Yes. Thriving marriages. So we look at conflicts in marriage. What causes conflicts in marriage? Now, conflict does not mean actually that where people have to fight, okay? Because sometimes people hear, oh, we've had some conflicts in marriage, and people have thought they exchange blows. That does not. That could be either something that comes later, but before there was even that physical, there was part of what they conflicted on.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, conflict can be just simply kutofautiana, sio? Au si makabiliano. Unajua wakati mwingine conflict, they use the word conflict to show makabiliano. Okay? Makabiliano is more physical. But conflict can also be kutofautiana, kutoelewana, correct? And something else? Au kutoeleweka. Kutokubaliana, correct. So it's not actually at makabiliano vile ina they interpret it. So conflict is simply disagreement among individuals or groups. Individuals or groups, and these sometimes can be because of what we call perceived incompatibility of actions or goals. A disagreement among individuals. So it is not that they have fought. It is where now we are not really agreeing. Tumetofautiana, okay?
Yes.
Hatukubaliani, okay? On some either actions or goals. And so the issue is this: sometimes either I have not communicated them, or somebody has not understood or has not listened, because communication is where if I tell you this is why I did it, then you may realize what you thought was the reason may not be my reason. Okay? So that disagreement that is between individuals or groups because of a perceived, remember I'm using the word perceived. Why? Because that perceived ni kama vile umeona, okay? We call it perceived. Perceived could be your own perception on the other side. When you see it on this other side, once umeelewa, then you realize it's no longer a reason for conflict.
Yes.
Now you can imagine you are studying together with somebody on different sides, you are talking. And then somebody has drawn something like this. Now imagine you are here. Okay, no, it can even be the same thing. You are here, and somebody is on this side. If your wife is here, and the husband is here, and you start saying, what can you see? Let's say you are here. What do you see?
6. Number 6.
And what about Aston, you on this side? What do you see?
Number 9.
Now, what about if you decided just to say it's a 6? The other one saying?
It's a 9.
It's a 9. It's a 6. How long would you stay? Forever. What about if you decided, can I see what you see? Perceive. I come to your side, or we both of us come to one side, we read. Then go to the other side, we read. What happens? Is the conflict solved?
Yes.
Yes, because sometimes the sources of conflicts in marriage, remember, we agree to marry. There is a, kuna vile tulikubaliana, kuna yale maneno tuliambiana, si kweli? Now, whoever was, kama vile tunasema aliingizwa box, kuna vile ulielezwa na ukakubali. Na ukafuata umjamaa na si wa kwenu, not a relative. Uliahidiwa ndege. Now, that is one of the issues of expectations. Kuna vile uliahidiwa na ukakubali na ukamfuata. So there is a way you agreed. So in this time when we are having conflict, don't you think sometimes this is where either we have not really looked at what we are disagreeing upon?
Yes.
Yes. So, and sometimes it doesn't have to go to what we call antagonism and hostility. Because by the time, now this perceived incompatibility, watu ni kama, you know, there are people who say we are not compatible. You've heard of those words?
Yes.
We are
Not
compatible. Or you hear some words that like
incompatible.
compatible. There are some things, differences. Inconsiderable, what do you call it?
Irreconcilable differences.
That means they cannot even be.
They cannot be brought back together.
Yeah, it is like that song we used to say, Humpty Dumpty, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. And Humpty Dumpty had a big fall. And not all the king horses nor the king's men could put Humpty Dumpty together again. I realized the Humpty Dumpty was a pumpkin. And so actually when he fell, there was no way the king's horses nor the king's men could put. So sometimes I keep wondering, is our marriage simply like that Humpty Dumpty? Did we really sit on a wall and had a big fall so that by the time we go to the court and say, irreconcilable differences? It's like we sat like Dumpty. So what I'm saying, by the time we go to antagonism, because when conflicts, hiyo tunasema makabiliano, itafika wakati kuna antagonism. Antagonism is where now we have decided to be opponents. It is always you versus me. And anytime it is either I put you down or you put me down, okay? So we are already antagonistic. Then after that, when now, and not only antagonism, then we become hostile. So hostility now goes to the fact that the conflict can go to makabiliano, and it goes even to harm. If not psychological harm, then we're even harming one another physically. It doesn't have to escalate to that. Why? If it was simply perceived incompatibility, what about if people just decided, let's see what side you are seeing your issue?
Yes.
Then we see whether we can resolve it. Because those irreconcilable differences, sometimes they can be reconciled. Kwa sababu kuna vile mlikubaliana siku moja na mlikuwa watu wazima na mkakubali kukaa pamoja. Hakuna mtu alikuwa mtoto au kulikuwa daiji. Hapana, we don't allow that. Okay, now we look at what are the 12 common areas of conflict. But today we'll be able to look at 6. And we'll look later at the 6 because we will not be able to complete everything in one lesson. So we look at the most common. They may not be the only ones. We are not saying these are the only ones. But we can look at the most. But before maybe I give out mine, would you want to say one thing? Pengine ile ilikuwa kwenu. Inaitoka super. That one which was bad and you have been able to resolve it. That's why we are here in this class. Okay. Who starts? So, any area of conflict, Constance?
Money.
Issue. Money issue. Correct? By the way, that is one of the major ones. Money. My money, our money.
Money.
Your money. Pesa yangu, pesa yako. Hakuna pesa yetu. Okay? So, those are areas of conflict. So, and we remember we were talking about it the other time when we were talking about communication. Why is the money issue a big issue? I mean, the money a big issue or area of conflict? Lack of it or more of it? George.
The extended family.
Okay. Oh, extended family. Thank you. I wanted us to ask ourselves a little bit of the money. Is it the money, a lot of it, or lack of it, or both?
Both.
So when people lack,
Conflict.
about what?
I want this, but I cannot get it. Yeah.
Or you keep saying so and so wako
Kwao iko, huku hakuna.
na kwetu hakuna, wewe kwa nini? And then when it's a lot, why is the area of conflict? What do we hear it from? Sorry, from Judge?
Priorities. In
Priorities.
expenditure. Yes.
So you have more to do with.
You have it, but you cannot really agree on what you should do with that money
Okay.
that you have. What first and what should follow. So you get that. That leads to misappropriation.
Okay.
Yes.
And sometimes we also lose interest on what was most important. We no longer have time together, family. Why? Because sometimes now that we can have faster means, kila mtu ako na gari yake, we don't have time when we had either one or we didn't have, would travel kwa matatu, tunaenda tukiongea. Sasa hii ni mtu amke atayarisha kacha yake, hui! Mnakutana jioni. So the communication also breaks. Okay, again, people also get some extra use of that money, which is where people now can drift to other bad behavior. Even mpango ya kando. Wakati mwingine you find a poor man will not have a mpango ya kando. Why when we have money?
Mpango wa kando wa nini na hata huu mwenyewe hawezi
Ujapanga no, sorry. God help us, because the blessings of the Lord, the Bible says, maketh rich and should not add sorrow. So we pray, and I believe God will give us money, but I pray that that money will not be the source of conflict, or you lose the family that really is more precious than the money. Okay, so we have said one, and those one of them we have said money, and that's true, and the other one he said extended family, or what we call sometimes we call them third parties. They could be any third party is the one who was not in the initial contract. Unajua to sign contract watu wawili. Any other is an extended family, or it can be what we call a third party. Yes. So whether they are the in-laws, whether they are our brothers, whether they are our sisters, all of them are not part of this covenant, as we called it. You remember in our class what is a covenant? It was that agreement between these two people who swore and took a vow. The rest are beneficiaries. Yes. So the other is, as she said, she was promised an airplane.
Yes.
And has not come. So one of the other sources of conflict is unmet expectations. What were you told? What uliigizwa box? Uliambiwaje? Kulikuwa matumaini, kuna vile tuliongeleshwa. But now that is what we call unmet expectations. So those expectations, if they are still unmet, you find people will still. And then another fourth thing, do people still conflict today about roles? Who does who? Okay? Roles and responsibility. Why?
Yes.
Because people have, also as you say, expectations. I go home. You expect food. You expect a fixed TV. Najui. You know, there is the expectations, as we say, there are roles and responsibility. Why you think, why should I be doing that and you are here? Or why should I be doing this? So roles and responsibility is the fourth source of conflict. Any other?
The responsibility. It comes where we say woman is the lady of the house is the one supposed to cook, not the housemaid.
Yeah,
House girl.
yes, the house girl. You are working and you say, I can't eat food from a house girl. I must eat from a wife. Yet the wife is coming. Then there is also the man who is saying, or the lady is saying, my man should be like this. I expect him to take me out, to provide. That is where we have roles and responsibilities. What about irritating habits? You know, we have this ajo we sow, and we say you are an ajo until somebody unruffles your feathers. We put the best picture, or we put the best forward when we are dating, courting. Then you are married, then you realize this man snores. Come a tractor. Or what you call this, vegetore. You know, you find then there's this lady who seemed just like she can't even clean the house well. But that time you'd find everything, you know, it was a single room. But now this is a big room and it's like, it just doesn't seem a big deal. What is happening? We have what we call irritating, sometimes habits that we wish would change this person. Maybe I understand there is a lady who was so irritated with the husband because he kukoroga chai. Unajua kuna vile tunakoroganga uji. Kama unajua you have to hit it. Then wanaenda kwa hoteli. The man is babe. The man is just not conscious. The next time he sees and he's like, this man keeps irritating me. Then those who talk with food in the mouth. You know, some of these, if they cannot be helped, if you cannot change, then people just realize, I can't get irritating habits. And the last one, we are now, you said there are 6 today. So you said, yes, and the one which we had mentioned earlier, we should not forget the 6th one, though I'll write here as 4, is poor or lack of communication. Do you remember? We had mentioned this. Communication, very important. And we have said irritating habits. And the last one, which was habits, we said 6, which is the 6th one?
Roles and responsibilities.
Roles and responsibilities. So don't forget, we may have time to discuss about them later, but these are not the only ones, but we are just first putting the first key. And then we'll go up to 12, and if we have others, we can also add them. But these are areas of conflict within the family or the marriage. And maybe we'll get time to discuss how. And in our discussion today, would we be able to delve deeper? Tuangalie how wanachangiaji katika si makabiliano, kukota masi. Kwa sababu makabiliano inakaa kama ni ile ya mataifa. Anyway, we will have that time to discuss. Okay. Yes. You are dismissed in the class. Yeah, thank you.
1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 to 6. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. In today's discussion during the break,
Okay, we've just come from a very exciting class on conflict in marriage, and you know the truth is we cannot hide and say that marriages don't experience disagreements and conflicts. The reality is once in a while, or maybe more than once in a while, couples experience conflicts, and we have been given some common areas of conflict. Of course, the teacher said there are more, but amongst these ones that we have been given, probably some of us have experienced some, and maybe they had a way of dealing with them, or we are aware of how some of these areas have been handled by other couples, or we may just shed some more light on what we think about this issue of conflict. For example, I had her mention that she had the expectation of kununuliwa ndege. It was some unmet expectations. And I know if we talk as brothers, we gave so many. we gave our sisters a lot of expectations. I still tell my wife, bado tunaenda ngambo. Unajua nilimwambia when we got married, I told her my vision is very big. I'm not a local person. But unfortunately, bado tuko hii Kenya tu. But I keep on telling her we are still going. So I don't know how you've handled this issue of unmet expectations. It might not necessarily be the aeroplane, but were there any unmet expectations, and how do we handle them in our marriages?
What I can say, enyewe mnatupromisingi mambo mengi sana, si ati nini, ni kweli. Lakini hata unaangalia mwenye anakupromise, mwenyewe hajanunua hata baiskeli, lakini bado ninajua ndege inakuja. So tunakuanga na imani. Na ninajua siko peke yangu. We are many, all my sisters. Hadi wapo. Tulipromisiwa mingi. Na hiyo sometimes unajua sisi wanawake, by the way mwanamke kusahau ni ngumu. Hata umwambie nini. Si kama nyinyi mumeni mnakuanga very busy, sijui kama ni mambo mnakuanga mingi nini. Lakini sisi hata utamuke nini, ukiongea, ukifanya nini, hatusahawingi. Tutakukumbusha kesho. Kwambie na unajua jana ukuja ukiwa hapo ukiwa mlevi na uliniahidi ukaniambia hivi na hivi. Uliniambia Heaven na bado mimi naona niko hera. Si tunaelekea lini hii Heaven. So hizo expectation ndio zinaleta sometimes hizo conflicts kwa sababu some hawajamachua, some ladies hawajaenda hiyo maturity level ya kuunderstand huyu mtu. So kwa wao bado kwa ile utoto. Unajua kuna steps za kuenda mkigrow in marriage, si venye mlianza. So hiyo conflicts inakuanga sana kwa sababu ya mambo ambayo mnatuahidi. So mkwange soba mkiongea mkituahidi. Okay. So kama mimi nilimunderstand venye aliniambia ndege, so I know ninaendelea na keep on kuomba nikiambia Mungu na ukumbuke ule mwenye uliniletea your son alinifanya nini? Aliniahidi ndege. Na hiyo ndege siendi mbinguni kama sijaipata. So ninaambia Mungu siambie kwa sababu nikimpea hiyo stress yeye labda kujua kiongea, lakini saa hii isikue niyo conflict ya hiyo jamii. So ni mzuri tunakuwa understand your man.
Okay, mimi kwangu ningesema niongee hapa kwa third party ambao huwa wanafanya kuwe na conflict katika ndoa, na hiyo ni jambo moja ambao ni wide sana, kwa sababu unapata ya kwamba katika ndoa mimi na mume wangu tuko na in-laws, tuko na friends, tuko na labda pengine tuko mpaka na house girl, na unaweza pata ya kwamba sisters ama brothers wanakuja nyumbani, wanakuja kwetu wanasema hapa ni kwa ndugu yetu na ni tunakaa hapa and we have the right na hakuna kitu unaweza ukatuambia. Now from there unapata ya kwamba mumeanza conflict kwa sababu kuna mmoja alikuja akasema hapa ni kwa ndugu yangu na I have no problem to be here. Labda pengine umechukua mtu wa familia, umeanza umempeleka shule, kwa hivyo itakuwa ya kwamba ni kama amekuwa mtoto wa hiyo familia. You maybe anakula huko, anaishi huko, analala huko. Unapata ya kwamba sometimes ni lazima umhandle with a lot of care. So unapata ya kwamba most of the times mnaulizana huyo, na inaleta a lot of conflicts katika ndoa ama kwa familia. So pia hiyo ni vizuri tuiangalie ili katika ndoa kusikue na hizo conflicts ambazo ni za third party. Katika ndoa mlishikana mkiwa wawili, na pia ni lazima tuiangalie.
Nafikiri kwamba katika mambo ya third party ni lazima mambo haya yaangaliwe na watu wote wawili, the two people concerned, because it is a matter of agreement, sure. Makubaliano. Before a third party comes into that marriage, there must be time when you sit, the wife and the husband, and agree. Na ni lazima mkubaliane kama tutachukua fulani awe anakaa na sisi ama hatutaki mtu anakaa na sisi. You must agree. So because the conflict si mtu kukaa ama kuja kukaa na nyinyi. Ni kwamba the decision was made by one person. It is only one person that decided ya kwamba dada yangu atakuja kwangu tuishi na yeye. Lakini si kuhusisha mwenzangu ambaye sasa atakuwa anaangalia the 6 from the 9 side. So anaangalia naona haikui si mzuri, but if I called my wife tukaketi on one side tukaulizana what are merits and demerits of this stay with a third party, nafikiri haiwezi kuwa na shida.
Okay. And well, among the other areas of conflict which I will also want us to touch on is on irritating habits. We can just maybe say something small about it, because I know of a couple friend of mine that they broke up because the wife was so irritated by the fact that the husband used to sit on the counter ya kitchen. Unajua kitchen kuna hii surface ya kupika. She found that to be so irritating. I remember her coming to share with us and say, kwani how comes men are so uncultured? I cannot live with a man like this. Is an irritating habit something that should create a conflict to the point of divorce, or it should be something you can compromise in a marriage?
Nafikiri kwamba hayo yote yanatokana na this poor communication, because if there is proper communication, like we were running in the last lessons about speaking and listening, the wife should be wise enough to tell the husband that this irritates me, though iwekwe kwa lugha ambayo ni nzuri. Yes. That is proper communication. Amwambia kwamba hii haiendi vizuri. So if that happens, then I know that if the man is willing, because the man labda alikuwa anaishi peke yake, hayo ndio maisha amezoea, hata wengine kuvua socks anaziangusha hapo, wengine anavulia nguo, anatoa koti akiwa sitting room, anaiangusha hapo. But you know, this man was living alone. Na sasa umekuja as a helper. So why don't you help this person kumwambia ya kwamba kuna this problem? Labda wengine ni tutabia tuingine here and there, and some may be medical. So why don't you come in as a husband or a wife? You come in and solve this medical issue. Nanielewa? So that you can have no conflict as pertaining to that issue.
Thank you.
Even as we conclude, I'm getting that in handling most of these areas of conflict, we need to handle them together.
Yes.
Thank you.
To get the notes of today's lesson, visit www.mbcimedia.com/TMC. Catch the repeat of Marriage Classroom every Tuesday at 10 p.m.